Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us again today on the second webinar on signature experiences. It's great to have you guys over here with us. We bring you two more collectives of these experiences. So we bring you cultural attractions of Australia, and we also bring you the Discover Aboriginal Experiences. So just before we start today, we'd like to just highlight a few more things. Right at the bottom of your screen, you will see a question answer tab. So if you have any questions for our panelists today, please do click all your questions in to that box. We are also recording this webinar, so we'll definitely share the copy of this with you. And as we go along, there will be a question answers session conducted by my colleague Summer that we all know. And all your questions will be answered here, right here. In case if there is something very specific that we're not able to answer today, please be rest assured we'll revert to you offline with those queries. And without any further delays, I'd like to quickly call upon our first presenter, Jane Ross. Welcome, Jane. And Jane is an executive officer at the Cultural Attractions of Australia. Jane, it's so lovely to have you. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'd like you to take it forward from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ritu, and thank you everyone for joining today. It's great to have the opportunity to be able to present to you. Now, there's a little bit of a delay in the clicking through here, so bear with me. Here we go. So I'm talking about Australia's iconic cultural experiences today. I'll take you through a bit about who we are and what we do, who our members are, and also, importantly, what our experiences are. So obviously there we've got the Sydney Opera House, but basically we're a collective of iconic Australian cultural attractions. The one you can see there is the Port Arthur Historic Site, a UNESCO World Heritage listed site, and one of the most pristine sites of its kind in the world. And our members offer exclusive access to once-in-a-lifetime experience. So here you've got the NGV, the National Gallery of Victoria in Melbourne. It has the largest collection of any of our state-owned galleries, and they've got some amazing experiences in the actual gallery spaces themselves. We invite you to experience our acclaimed museums. This one here is Mona, the Museum of Old and New Art in Hobart. And just the photograph there is of a James Turrell light installation. James Turrell has amazing immersive artworks. Mona is has the largest collection of his installations anywhere in the Southern Hemisphere, and they're immersive, as you can see. So in this site, you can actually go up and have drinks and canapes as part of their experience. So we also, and I'm sure a lot of you, if we had sound on for everyone on the webinar at the moment, many people would say, yes, that's the MCG. Of course, you're right. We also include sport. So it's art, sport and cultural heritage that we invite people to experience. And obviously the G is the birthplace of Test cricket. Sorry, I'm just waiting for the slide to change here. Okay, and we invite people to experience our performing arts. Hopefully, I'll try and sneak back there. There is a bit of a delay. The performing arts image was of the Art Centre in Melbourne. It's the largest performing arts centre in Australia, and that was their beautiful State Theatre. There it is there, it's a 2,000-seater. And then the following slide is the Australian War Memorial, just giving a bit of an indication of some of our historic sites. It is one of the most significant sites of commemoration in the world and quite a beautiful, touching place to visit. It's located in Australia's capital in Canberra. So all up, we have 18 members dotted all across Australia. Hopefully you can see those markers on the map that span from the Qantas Founders Museum in northern Queensland in the outback, through to Sydney and Canberra, down to Melbourne and Tassie, over to Adelaide, and then also across to WA and down to Albany is where our members are from. And all of our members are united by a commitment to delivering premium experiences. And here's another sporting one for you. This one's of the Adelaide Oval, and I'll mention their experience as part of an overview in a moment. So basically, we target the curious traveller. We have high value experiences for a high value traveller that really scratch the surface. In terms of the kind of experiences that we offer, there's guided tours with expert guides, curators and conservators, takeaway mementos such as photos, footage, signed memorabilia, pre or post opening access, exclusive dining experiences, access to people who have changed Australia's cultural landscape, the opportunity to even take part in a performance, and also behind the scenes access. So I'll give you a bit of a flavour of the kind of things that we do offer. And in doing that, I'm going to just go to a photo that just shows an image of all of our 18 members. Here we go. The two highlighted in red I'll talk to in a minute. There are two newest members, the Australian National Maritime Museum and also the National Museum of Australia. So imagine this, having Sydney Opera House organise an aria sung by a world-class opera performer just for you in one of the world's most iconic buildings. Or perhaps you'd like performing in an Opera Australia opera on the stage of the Sydney Opera House. For another unique, immersive experience, why not dress in character as they would have in the Gold Rush and dine with other characters, exploring the goldfields by night at the Sovereign Hill Outdoor Museum. Initially, I mentioned the UNESCO World Heritage listed Sydney Opera House. There are also experiences in more of Australia's World Heritage listed attractions. There's Port Arthur Historic Site, significant because it's one of the most significant convict era sites in the world. Here you can visit as night falls and learn the stories of hardened criminals and the innocent that were sent there during settlement. Or Fremantle Prison, built by convicts for convicts, where an expert guide will reveal artwork created by prisoners over its 100-year plus lifetime as a prison. For artwork of a different kind, how about exclusive access to the National Gallery of Victoria or the National Gallery of Australia after they close, including tailored private guided tours and dining within the galleries themselves. Think musicians spotlit in corners throughout the National Gallery of Victoria, or a degustation influenced by the art you see at the National Gallery of Australia. Part of the intrigue of these experiences is the people you will meet, none more so than meeting, dining and playing tennis with David Walsh, the infamous maths nerd and creator of Mona, where everything you see has been hand-selected by David. Unique? That certainly is, as is this world first, walking on the wings of a Boeing 747 and 707, an experience available nowhere else in the world except the Qantas Founders Museum at Longreach, where visitors will get to know Australia's outback culture. Or head to Australia's southwest, taking a cultural pilgrimage to the site that 41,000 men and women departed Australia for World War I, and taking a personal journey of just one of these individuals at the National Anzac Centre before the doors open to the public. Be one of the lucky few to walk on the hallowed turf of the largest oval in the Southern Hemisphere. Of course, I'm talking about the MCG. Or visit Adelaide Oval, one of the most picturesque cricket grounds in the world, and have your name placed on the century-old scoreboard, one of the only still operating in the Southern Hemisphere. Did you know Australia's Parliament House is one of the only parliaments in the world where public can get access? And with their experience, not only do guests get to go behind the scenes, they dine in a space normally reserved for dignitaries. The food is not catering company food, it's Habit chef food, with a chef that sources local product and is very happy to engage with guests about the menu and his philosophy. Be invited to experience the soul of the nation at our national site of commemoration and one of the most recognised sites of its kind in the world. That's the Australian War Memorial. Or explore the famous submarine at the HMAS Ovens with a former serviceman at the WA Maritime Museum. See Canberra from the clouds in a hot air balloon with a design expert from the National Museum of Australia, enjoying the unique planning created by Walter Burley Griffin. Sail aboard a heritage yacht on the Sydney Harbour before going behind the scenes with a conservator at the Australian National Maritime Museum. And what better way to conclude this presentation with some gold hot pants? See Kylie Minogue's gold hot pants and many other famous Australian performers' costumes at a pre-opening exploration of Australia's performing arts collection at the Arts Centre Melbourne, as well as their theatres on an expert guided tour. So that concludes just a bit of a snapshot. I'm now going to take you to our new members and give a little bit of detail on what they offer. So the National Museum of Australia, situated in Australia's capital in Canberra, they're offering 3 new experiences titled In, Above and Behind the Scenes. In and above and behind the scenes, you actually get to go up early in the morning in a hot air balloon with a design expert, really looking at the layout of Canberra itself, which is quite interesting from a planning perspective, but also really getting a feel for the museum itself, and then landing and going into the museum again for an expert-led tour behind the scenes. Out to the Shed actually takes guests to their site where the bulk of their collection is held. You very quickly get an understanding of just what a small portion of the museum's collection is on display at the museum itself when you see where the rest of the collection is housed. And again, that's with an expert guided tour. Big Histories is a really great shorter tour that really highlights, they've highlighted 6 of important moments in Australia's social history. So it's almost like a quick passport to Australia as an expert, again, takes you through those 6 moments. The next one I wanted to speak to was the Australian National Maritime Museum. Again, they're offering 3 new experiences, one called Hidden Gems and Ancient Artefacts. That really, not only do they show, and you can see the photograph here, the museum itself is really central in Sydney, situated in the Darling Harbour. They do actually have floating vessels that you can visit, and you do so in all of these experiences. But the Hidden Gems and Ancient Artefacts really focuses again on taking you behind the scenes and seeing some of their collection, which is also located on site, but also going into the rooms where the conservators are actually working on parts of their collection and improving those collections. And they talk about the process behind that, which is really interesting. There's the opportunity, there's small groups, so opportunity to ask questions as well to get a really detailed understanding in an area that guests are interested in. Sail Through Australia's Maritime History actually takes you out on the harbour in one of their boats and goes from Aboriginal history through to colonial history as well, and gives you a really well-rounded snapshot of Australia's maritime history. The luxury harbour cruise on the Edwardian steam yacht Ina. The Ina is totally beautiful, and you do get to board Ina, again go out on the Sydney Harbour, fully catered, the opportunity to actually really look at the yacht itself and be taken around that, but also to enjoy the harbour in this gorgeous yacht. That one is their premium experience, and I think it can hold up to 30, so either for groups or large family groups, it would be a really remarkable way to experience the harbour. And then the following slide is a new experience by Opera Australia. Opera Australia isn't a new member. They already offer a walk-on role where you get to perform in an opera at the Sydney Opera House. They've also introduced the Not So Modest Proposal, where as part of one of their performance series, they actually give people to propose to their loved one during a performance. It's all fully staged and curated. It can come as a very big surprise to the person who's being proposed to, but of course the proposer is well aware of what they're doing and when they're doing it, and it always gets a massive roar from the crowd, so a totally unique way to propose. I now just want to take you through what we offer to you to help service you and to help you sell our experiences. So all of our experiences are fully commissionable. We have 28 of the high value traveller experiences, which we term the cultural attraction experiences, but we also list all of our members' commissionable product, which brings the total range up to about 60. Experiences can be custom built, so if people have a particular interest or variations on an experience, then by all means do get in touch and put in those requests. Our members are really open to that. We have e-newsletters with the latest news. They go out about every quarter, sometimes more regularly than that. There's a dedicated trade and media site, which includes itineraries, destinational copy, fact sheets for all of these experiences, including pricing, descriptions, T's and C's, maximum numbers, everything that you need should be included in those, with the exception of the commission rates. We do ask that you just approach members directly with regard to the commission. And please, this is where I jump into it, if for some reason they don't get back in touch with you, please get in touch with me and I'll give them a rustle, because we really don't want to miss any opportunities. And certainly there's been strong interest from India, which has been fabulous. We have a website which lists, again, all of the experiences, is an easy way to get top line information. And footage is coming soon. I'm going to give you a snapshot today so you can get a taste for it, but very soon we'll be loading 16, 15-second spots showcasing various experiences, a long form spot in various, one with labels to show you what is on the footage, but also some to talk about who we are. And there'll also be some media materials as well. So all of that can be found on the Cultural Attractions of Australia website. The address is there. You can sign up to the e-newsletter there. You can go to the trade and media navigation at the top of the page. The password, just if you've got a pen there, is in caps. It's CAOA trade. So it's the abbreviation of Cultural Attractions of Australia. That's CAOA and then trade, all in caps. And then, yeah, the rest should be able to navigate as you are. So I'm going to go to the next slide and show you the footage, and then we'll open it up for questions.
I'll leave it up to you. You've got two roads to choose. Where will we go today? Today we start anew. We'll explore every far-flung pocket of the world, discover new places we haven't been before. Run with the river, not walk the straight line, just wanna live a life full of first times.
There we go. So there we have the presentation, and Summer, welcome.
Oh, hi. Hi, Jane. Thank you so much. That was fantastic. I think some of the experiences there, which especially the ones that can be customized and, you know, are exclusive, really speak to the value of what you can do with such iconic attractions and experiences. And I've been fortunate to, you know, experience some of them on my travels in Australia. And although this one's not related to the Opera House, but when I was there many years back and I was doing the Sydney Bridge climb, there was this English couple who was on the climb with a few of us. And when we reached the summit, you know, he popped the question and he brought out a ring and it was fantastic, and nobody knew except him, right, and everybody else. And I think fortunately it was a yes, and it all went off pretty well. So so I guess yes, the very powerful, the power of those locations, those experiences really help people to drive that memory and create those unforgettable memories and experiences. I think that's something that our partners and agents should really look forward to incorporating in their itineraries very soon. Now I've had a few questions come in. This first one is a very interesting one. I always thought about this, but I never thought I might want to do it. But since the question has come, I'll ask. And the question was, you know, are you able to stay overnight in any of the prisons, like the Port Arthur or the Fremantle prison?
No, you can't. With the experience for Port Arthur Historic Site, they are actually looking to get accommodation, so that's not far off. So it's definitely on the cards. Their experience is a nighttime experience, so you actually get to dine on the premises. So you get that kind of feel in terms of what it's like after dark. But it's definitely, accommodation is definitely on the cards for Port Arthur Historic Site down the track.
Yeah, because I would imagine that would be something that, you know, while you don't want to tell anyone that I was overnight in a prison, you also want to tell everyone that I was overnight in a prison. You know how it goes?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. The other one is, you know, are the experiences for small groups only, or can it also be accommodated for large groups? Maybe there's two different groups, or large groups of 15, 20 people. You know,
Yeah, we actually came across
Indian
that
families
recently.
travel with
So
large groups.
the focus for most of the experiences is small groups, but we did get asked whether or not they could be staged for groups of up to 40. And most of the experiences said, yes, they could. In a lot of cases, I'd probably get 2 groups of 20 running concurrently, so that they've got different groups sort of moving in the same site at the same time, but they keep that small. So absolutely, there is the option, and I've actually got a spreadsheet if anyone's interested in getting in touch with me that lists which one can hold larger groups, for their experiences.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sure that would help, because a lot of Indian travelers travel with extended families. Could be 15, could be 20 people. You know, multi-generation holidays. So that's good to know. The other one that always comes and has come up here again, those that require catering services where there are meals involved, are they able to cater for dietaries like vegetarian and any other dietary requirements, allergies, etc.? And how much time would they need in advance to prepare for that?
Look, all of these experiences are pre-bookable, and I suppose that's the point of them. They're not experiences that you can expect to sort of call up and do tomorrow. So I think most in the T's and C's, it gives an indication of how long you need to book in advance. I would say that most would be sort of, you know, no less than a week. And yeah, those catering concerns. Normally catering would need to be stipulated at least a week in advance. But they do have large catering companies or the capacity to be flexible with that.
Okay, fantastic. Actually, we just got a comment from someone saying that there's a youth hostel attached to the Fremantle prison, so it might be possible to stay, but I'll leave that for Jane to come back to us on when that's actually put into practice, or any of the other prison. But thanks for sending that through. And I guess there are 3 more questions that have come through. Sorry, just one more question that has come through. And that is there a module available on the Aussie Specialist Program where you can learn more about, or they can learn more about the cultural attractions of Australia?
Yeah, we've actually created one of those, so it goes into detail. And in fact, well done, India. You are leading the charge in terms of Aussie Specialists completing that module. So thank you. It's great to see the interest. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. That's currently on the site for anyone who hasn't done it. And just for people who might be interested, we don't currently have a presentation deck, but that's on my list to do, hopefully in the next couple of months, so that you too can, you know, train if required for Aussie Specialists.
Fantastic. That's great. Aussie Specialists and our agents looking for it. It's in the special interest section, so please do look out for that one. Well, I think those are all the questions that I have. Thank you very much for your time today, Jane. And
Pleasure. Thank you everyone for
yeah.
tuning in, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure. A pleasure to host you. With that, I'd now like to introduce you to our next speaker, and that's Nicole Mitchell. Nicole Mitchell is the Executive Officer for Discover Aboriginal Experiences. Now, I've also been fortunate to actually partake in some of these experiences, whether it's in the Northern Territory or in Western Australia. And really, I think I was blown away by what I learned and what I understood from the people, their passion, and the way they explain to you and make you a part of their lives. You actually feel you're transforming back into, you know, the lives of the people who were actually living in that environment then. So I think that's an experience that I will never forget. And I think it's Aboriginal Experiences is all about the guide and the people, right? They are the real storytellers, and they really put life back into the objects that you see there. So it's nice to have that live experience. So with that introduction, over to you, Nicole.
Great, thank you very much, Samara. And I think you should do my presentation. You've done a brilliant job there. Just about to share the screen, one moment, and we'll be live. We hope. Okay, here we go. Again, as Jane mentioned, this is absolutely fantastic that we're here with you today. We would absolutely love to be with you in person, updating you on our collectives, but it's great to have this resource and tool to be able to do so. And whilst we're doing this by the internet, I think it's still very important, I look after the cultural area, that we acknowledge the traditional owners on the land on which we meet today. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So thank you for allowing me to do that. What I want to cover today is a little bit about why include a Aboriginal experience, what experiences we have and how to go about including those experiences, and there's some resources that we've got. So heading straight into it, as you know, and if you've tuned into some of the other presentations, like the great one just now on cultural attractions, we're part of the Signatory Experiences Group of Australia, which is really tapping in to those passion points. And I'm going to talk to you about why Discover Aboriginal Experiences is particularly in this collective. Firstly, a little bit about Australia, and if we look at that beautiful coloured map there of Australia, that actually represents all the language, tribal and nations groups of the Indigenous people in Australia. There was actually 250 recorded languages or dialects, and there's still 120 spoken today. So what that brings about is great diversity of experience. If you're doing an experience up with one in near Port Douglas, it's going to be very different to an experience in Central Australia. The names of the plant uses are different. It's really quite eye-opening. And I think the most important thing is, and people don't realise this, is that we have the world's oldest living culture. Our culture is still practiced today, our Indigenous culture, and one way to sustain that culture is through tourism. So we're very proud to have this collective in Signatory Experiences. So what is our brand promise to you? What are your clients going to get out of one of the Discover Aboriginal Experiences products? And it's really a flagship suite of these experiences showcasing this world's oldest living culture through insight, authenticity, and really about meaningful connection. So it's really about the people. You know, that is the most important thing, as Samar alluded to before. If we have a look at the fabulous Manuel here from Top Ditch, you can see that all our guides are very warm, they're very welcoming, and they're really keen to share their story. All of the experiences are Aboriginal guided. So it's the person who owns the story telling the story. And the other really important thing about that is that often that means accessibility to areas that perhaps other tours may not be able to go to because they're on Aboriginal lands. Also, importantly, as I mentioned, it's storytelling. So every part of Australia is Aboriginal country, and every part of our country has a different story to be told. So if you can recognise the picture behind here, that's actually Uluru, and that's actually the story of two snakes fighting. Or if you're in Sydney, it's the story of the whale dreaming. So it's really interesting, and it really brings the landscape to life in Australia. Importantly, everything is engaging, authentic experiences with great diversity. We've actually got 150 different FIT experiences alone in the collective, and all of those experiences can also be tailored. I know a question before that came up on James was about numbers. Now, our experience is a small group touring, but if you've got a larger group, they're able to put more guides on and split the group, so you still get that personalised experience. Most importantly, trade ready. To be a member of this collective, all the businesses have to achieve a certain criteria, and it's a pretty tough one. We do that deliberately to make sure we do have the best of the best. They know that they need to correspond within 24 hours, that they've got to have commissionable rates, and they know the nuances and differences of different markets and different travellers they've got from coming from around the globe. So I've given you a little bit of there about, you know, what is so special about our collective. But what I thought I'd actually do was, rather than listening to me for the full time, was to head into a video that showcases the diversity. So what I really want you to have a look at here is the different types of experiences you'll see in this video.
Welcome. Welcome to the adventure. The adventure is to show and share our culture. Every plant, every animal is our family. They are our ancestors. They live, they grow, so we can live and grow. We are all connected. To connect our mind, body, and soul to the land, we dance. Share the light. We share the land. We share this journey. Join us for the adventure. Our country is waiting for you.
I hope you enjoyed that journey around Australia and saw the diversity of experiences that we have. So many so, we've got 45 members in the collective, as you can see in this map here. And importantly, They're in regional and also urban locations. So Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, for example, we've got experiences as well as in regional locations. There's often a bit of a perception that to do an Indigenous experience, you know, it might be out of the way or it might be dry and dusty and you have to travel for a long time. That's definitely not the case. So I'm going to run through and give you a taste of some of these experiences today. We're not going to have time to go through them all, but I'm going to showcase some of them to you. The really, I guess, easy way to pitch Indigenous experiences is the diversity of experiences. So, you know, you can be out on a quad bike or sandboard, you can be looking at rock art or actually doing your own rock art piece. We've got some great coastal and aquatic from back of the kayak there in Western Australia or with Nipmuc Tours in Katherine in the Northern Territory. And one that's really interesting, and I know there's been quite a bit of interest as well from the Indian market on, is our culinary experiences. And we're seeing that coming through in a lot of restaurants here as well. But there's Bob Taylor from RT Tours in Central Australia, who is literally, I think, the best restaurant in Central Australia, out under the stars, learning a little bit about culture, country and cuisine. Wildlife, of course, that's up in KAKADU. Immersive journeys are our experiences that might be 3 or 4 night, particularly immersive experiences where you're with the community and you're doing what the community is doing. Obviously, we've got our fabulous bush and outback, and not to forget our urban culture, as I mentioned before. So let's take a look at some of those experiences around Australia. Firstly, I'll pitch in how to include these experiences, and this is something, you know, I used to be on your side of the fence as a inbound tour operator actually, and I know what it's like putting together those itineraries, and it's really about flavouring them and putting in touch points of Indigenous experiences. And like I mentioned before, when we looked at that map of Australia, the beautiful coloured map, the type of experiences are on offer. So in Sydney, for example, you might want to include a 2-hour walking tour around the harbour with Margaret. You move up to Uluru, there's a fantastic dot painting workshop with Marrickoo Arts. And if you're moving on to far north Queensland, you've got a wealth of experiences from mud crabbing to going out to the Great Barrier Reef to doing art classes. So it's putting in those touch points. People often say your Indigenous experience is more expensive, and that is not the case. It's just that you're, I guess, giving your clients an added value of or opening their eyes to culture and bringing that landscape to life. So looking into New South Wales, we've got 5 in New South Wales, particularly in the Sydney region. I mentioned there Auntie Margaret on the left with her walking tour. Also, if you've got a group coming, she does a personalised welcome to country, which is a smoking ceremony, and she can do that from the airport. She also does a half-day tour from the airport, which is new. The Australian Museum has the biggest collection of artefacts, Indigenous artefacts in Australia. They're renovating and they're opening in September. So we're going to have some great new products and experiences coming out of the museum. And there's also the Royal Botanic Gardens for your clients who are really interested in, you know, wellness and sustainability and plant uses and cuisine. It's a great walking tour in one of the most picturesque locations in Australia, I think. Of course, I'm biased living here in Sydney. Moving on to regional New South Wales, we get a lot of clients from your market heading up to the Port Stephens region and jumping on a quad bike. And I was up there last week and I can't tell you how amazing it was to get out on the sand dunes. I took my daughter who's 12 and her mate. They've got bikes that you can double. They've got bikes for kids, or you can just go sandboarding. It's a really safe, fun experience and a great way to learn about culture. There's Aboriginal midden sites that you get to have a look at and explore. And it's really personalised, and there's some great hills there for sandboarding as well. Heading into the Northern Territory, this is where we've got the biggest collection of Indigenous experiences. We've got 16 all throughout the top end in Central Australia. Firstly, heading to Uluru, the heart of Australia. Marrickoo Art, I mentioned to you before. Now, the way with Uluru is that all the touring is around sunrise and sunset because of the gorgeous changing colours on the rock and algas. With this, in the middle of the day, it's a bit of a downtime and people are going, you know, what do I do at Uluru? I might go for a swim, I might go for a wander. At the resort, there's this fantastic art experience that's run twice a day. It's an hour and a half where you're actually with one of the artists, and some of the artists from there are very famous. I don't know if you've seen the Qantas plane with the designs, but some of them have been involved in that. But you get to do your own art piece, learn about the symbols, what the symbols mean, and it's a nice memento to take back from a holiday, and it's quite an inexpensive inclusion that a lot of people gift into itineraries. So that's one. See It have got great touring with Indigenous guide, and we all know about voyages and their touch points throughout the resort for Indigenous experiences. Alice Springs, I've mentioned about the fantastic Bob Taylor there and his dinner. He's also available for a charter basis. So if you've got a high-end family group who want a private guide for, say, their 3-day, 4-night experience in Central Australia, I highly recommend Bob. He's always up for a chat. I took the Qantas in-flight filmer crew up there a few years ago when I was working at Tourism NT, and they had about 10 products scheduled in their itinerary, and they ended up spending the whole day with Bob because he's so engaging. And that really talks to what our guides are about. There's also Kark, which is a fantastic experience if you want to try a witchetty grub there in Kings Canyon. Heading into Darwin, top end of Australia, Putikal Aboriginal Cultural Tours is just 3/4 of an hour from Darwin, and they have just put on site 5 permanent glamping tents, if you like, and they're also now doing experiences into Litchfield and into Kakadu. Tiwi Islands, just north of Darwin. I'm not going to run through all of these. I'm saving some for you for later to have a bit of a research on, or please reach out to me. Heading into Kakadu, obviously the heart of Indigenous culture. The rock art in Kakadu and Arnhem Land is just outstanding. Davidson's Arnhem Land Safaris in particular is a great place to see rock art. You've got the Yellow Waters Cruise with Kakadu Tourism. I mentioned Lirrawee before with the immersive experiences of the 3-night. They also offer a 1-day women's tour, which is really interesting and actually getting a lot of traction in the market. Venture North and Lords are your extended touring programs, and they do very tailor-made programs. So you'll have Indigenous touch points throughout those itineraries. So you might be going to Injaluk Arts Centre one day, and then the next day maybe exploring the waterfalls, the fantastic waterfalls on Maguk or Jim Jim or Twin Falls around Kakadu. Heading down into Katherine. Katherine is 3 hours south of Darwin, or you can do it on a loop, which is a great touring route, which is heading from Darwin into Kakadu and then down to Katherine and then back up through Litchfield, which is a great itinerary. Nipmuc Tours obviously do fantastic tours of the gorge. Highly recommend the clients also jump in a helicopter and head through the gorge. Top Dig is an experience just not to be missed. I don't know if anyone joined into our Live from Oz social program that we had recently, but Manuel, there's a character. You literally have wallabies trying to jump into your art pots while you're trying to learn about art and maybe play a didgeridoo. Heading into Queensland, we have 11 experiences which are very much centred around far north Queensland. Although next year from the collective, we're working with some further experiences that we'll be bringing on south of Brisbane. Far North Queensland, as I mentioned, everything from mud crabbing with Adventure North or walkabout cultural adventures to a new product that launched last year that I think everyone should do. I've been to the Great Barrier Reef numerous times, but going out with an Indigenous sea ranger, as they call them, is amazing. They've trained for 2 years and they're bringing their cultural insight into that experience. So often when you go to the reef, you're sitting on the vessel for 2 hours and you're kind of reading a book or enjoying the scenery, and you get to the reef and you feel your experience starts then. The experience with Dreamtime Dive and Snorkel starts from the moment you hop on the boat. They're engaging, you're trying to start fire, yes, believe it or not, on a boat. They're talking about their cultural stories and insights. It's very personalised. And new experience, I'm not going to talk to all of these because I'll get kicked off this call, but Jaramali Rock Art is a new one. And if you've got clients, this is a fantastic experience. Quincan Rock Art, which is in Laura, which is up kind of near Cooktown Way, but you can get there from Cairns. So you can do a 4-wheel drive tour, or the one that I would absolutely love to do and I'm going to be doing in September is heading out on a helicopter from Cairns. So you've got that beautiful taking in the Great Barrier Reef combined with culture. And Johnny there, as you can see, is quite a character. We've also got Javakai and rainforestation, voyages, of course, with the gorgeous Mossman Gorge. Brisbane, as I mentioned, we've got this great experience which is halfway between Brisbane and the Gold Coast. And, you know, often at night in that region, it's kind of like, what experiences can I do? A lot of people go to the theme parks during the day or enjoy the beautiful coastline out at Kora Beach. This experience is an evening theatre experience which really traces the history of our culture in Australia. South Australia, we have one in South Australia in the beautiful Flinders Ranges with Wilpena Pound. And as you can see, the guides are also quite a character there, but you can do everything from a 1 hour experience to a full day experience. They have a great sunset tour. You learn about the bush foods, you learn about why the region is like that, you know, hunting, collecting. So highly recommend. And into Tasmania, this experience started a few years ago. It's in the Bay of Fires region, and I was lucky enough to work with them on developing this product. And it's a 3-night, 4-day experience that every single touch point is Indigenous guided. You look there, if you can see the beautiful wallaby skin, you've got wallaby skin hot water bottles. All the cuisine is cooked by the local community, who I think are some of the best cooks in Australia, the best scones I've ever had. But more importantly, it's a walk really everyone can do. I think the first couple of days are, correct me here, but I think it's about 8 to 9 kilometres and a bit longer on the third day. They've built this purpose-built beautiful dome accommodation, and you stay 1 night in the Lightkeeper's Cottage, which I think would be pretty cool as well. Heading into Victoria, and we've got a new experience this year in Victoria, which is Koori Heritage Trust. So Koori Heritage Trust is in Federation Square, which is in the heart of Melbourne. Guests can walk into there for free, but they can also join an hour guided tour along the banks of the river there, which is really gives them an insight. So as you can see, that flavouring. So if you're going to Melbourne and you're doing a half-day tour, what else can you suggest and what else can you put in? You might go to the gardens again and do an experience. Or Melbourne Museum traces the history of a number of different family groups in the Victoria region, and it's really interesting. Regional Victoria, Warngun Dintage, which is 3.5 hours south of Melbourne on the Great Ocean Road, dormant volcano area, and it's a really good stop point. So if you're planning those great road trips that we have in Australia, it's a great place to call into. Western Australia, 7 experiences from Western Australia spread across all the key touch points for touring in Western Australia, ranging from in Perth with Dale Toolbrook. If you've got people interested in cuisine and a great storyteller, Dale is your lady. And she also does things for groups. So she's not confined to working from the gallery or working from, she also does a combination package with Ultimate Wineries at Mandoona State. But she will come to the group. If they're at a restaurant, she'll give a cuisine talk. She'll talk about bush foods, and she's really engaging. Go Cultural Tours has new experiences, not just in Perth, but also on Rottnest Island and at Kings Park. Regional Western Australia, Coolgerman at Cape Lebec, beautiful, beautiful area north of Broome. We've got Nalidja Experiences in Broome, who do everything from a fantastic sunset sail, and Bart's pretty good on the guitar there. Walking tours around town. We've got Josh from Coomal Dreaming, which is Margaret River. And Josh does an amazing tour where he plays didgeridoo, and he's a brilliant didgeridoo player, and he plays it from the caves. A new experience we've got is IKARA Tours, which is in the Pilbara region. And I visited this area, I think, in about 1996, and I was absolutely blown away then. And it's got, it's just such a remote and rugged yet beautiful area. And he actually does, one of the tours he does is a 12-hour bush foraging, eating discovery experience. So it's one that I think everyone would like to do. And of course, we've seen on the video, Woolloogorri, get out on a kayak with capes, sit around a campfire at night. I finally got through all those experiences, and apologies that is rushed. So what I've got here for you is some resources that you can download from our corporate website, and we're just about to load up new versions of this afternoon, so they'll be hot off the press. We have our portfolio. Now our portfolio I call our trade Bible. So it's everything in there about when the tour operates, how long the tour is, how many minimum numbers, what maximum numbers, how to get there. And then we've got our beautiful pictorial journey brochure, which is the blue one that you see there, which gives you a flavour. It's a great bedtime reading. So grab that one and take a journey through Australia. We've also got flyers if you wanted a quick grab of what experiences are available. And please also keep up to date with our news and updates. If you'd like to be on my database, please reach out to me. I'd love to share our updates. And we also do that obviously through the Aussie Specialist and also through Tourism Australia's Essentials newsletter. Content. Now, I appreciate this is a trade presentation, but I know from when I was in trade and product that you're often looking for story ideas so that you look that one step ahead or in your newsletter. And we've got this fantastic media kit and also a storyteller flyer that gives an insight into some of the guides. So there's a story in there about family travel and what you can do, or people who are interested in cuisine, or, you know, I've just put one in about bushfire management. You know, what do the Indigenous people say about bushfire management? So just a bit of an interesting read if you're really interested in culture. Visual assets. If you are looking for images, we've just done an 18-month photo and video shoot around Australia, and we've got over 500 stunning images. The video that you saw before, we've also got individual videos on every single member, bar 2 in the collective, which are available on our gallery. And they're great ones for your social media or your website that you can download. Some are 30 seconds. The Discover Aboriginal Experiences video you can get in 30, 60, 90 and 120. There's my prompt on the next page. We've actually also got a great resource on how to search for those images specific to this collective. Corporate website. Now this is your go-to website. So if you've got your pens ready there, and I think we're sharing these presentations, is where you'll find all these resources that I've mentioned, as well as links to our image gallery. Also on our consumer side, australia.com/Aboriginal, you know those thematic journeys that I talked about in terms of culinary. If you click on culinary, if you've got someone interested, like I think someone's just put a question in here about cooking schools. Now that's something, you'll look there and you go, okay, Dale Tilbrook from Perth has a food experience. You reach out to Dale and they all do tailor-made products. So they could do a cooking school for you, more than likely. Aussie Specialist Program. Now, straight after this meeting, I am proofing the final run of a new Discover Aboriginal Experiences module. So that is, we do have a module up at the moment, which is more of a general Indigenous model. We've actually got one that I'm launching on Discover Aboriginal Experiences. So really pleased to be able to share that with you in the upcoming weeks. And I'll make sure that our Tourism Australia team are aware of that so they can let you know when that goes live. We've also got some great fact sheets, itineraries, and importantly, all those individual videos that we talked about are also up there for you. So the Aussie store, you can also access the brochures that I mentioned before, but they're also on our corporate website. So rounding up, and I think I've got a few minutes for questions after this, but we've got the world's oldest living culture. This really is our flagship suite, and all your clients will gain an insight into storytelling and connect on a personal level. You know, when you go on holidays, it's often about the people that you meet that really makes that holiday memorable, and that's what we're about. Located across Australia in urban and regional locations, including exclusive access, and really flavour those itineraries with experiences with all these trade-ready businesses. So that's it from me. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. And now we'll hand over for questions.
Nicole, I think what comes out from that so strongly is that there's a whole wide range of experiences across the continent that one can experience if they're looking for more immersive cultural experiences, especially with the original inhabitants of Australia, which is the Aboriginal people. And I think, you know, what normally when anyone talks about Aboriginal experiences, the first thing that naturally comes to mind is Uluru, is NT. So I think obviously that's the icon, that's the hero image that, you know, that speaks, that shouts out Aboriginal culture and experiences. But I think what we've seen is, and as I've experienced myself, there's amazing Aboriginal experiences one can have anywhere in Australia, whether it's Queensland, whether it's Victoria, it's New South Wales, it's Tasmania, it's Western Australia, and each is so powerful in its own way. And I've been moved by these, and I'd like to repeat this again, because I think what really came out for me was that each has a different and unique story to tell, not only about its people but about its land and how they've evolved over years. And that to me, you know, as you know, has set so deep in my head that I really love talking about it to people who are inclined and who are interested to understand more about this. That's just my 2 bits of advice there. There are two questions that have come. I think the first one you may have answered. So there was a question are there cooking school classes that offer cooking with bush foods? So I guess there is. Yeah, if you want to expand more on that one.
Sure, absolutely. The one that I would go to, first of all, would be Dale Tilbrook in Perth. But then there's people like Auntie Margaret Campbell from Dreamtime Southern Cross in Sydney who do tailor-made experiences. So she also works with a restaurant here in Sydney. So whilst it's not listed in our collective, it's actually available as well. So I think with that, you know, that's why we're here with this collective. I mean, a single point of contact. If you've got a particular interest in that or something a little bit diverse, we can head you in the right direction. And it's so whilst it's not an off the shelf as a cooking class, it's doable. So.
Okay, fantastic. I hope that answers that question. And there are a few more that have come in.
Okay.
And I guess I'll take the first one. The first one is, you know, which activity would you recommend for an Indian family who's probably going for the first time to Australia? And I'll just give you a little bit of background because this is linked to the next question as well. A normal Indian family would travel to, say, three or four cities over a 12 to 15 day period and like to pack in the days with a lot of activities and experience. So how can we sort of, you know, what would be that Aboriginal experience to bring to them, given that they don't have that much time to do?
Absolutely. I think an absolute must in any itinerary, and particularly for families, is the Dreamtime Southern Cross. It's a 1.5 hour walk. It's at 10:30 every day in Sydney. And it's perfect. People, you know, either their rooms aren't ready if they arrive, they need to get their bearings on Sydney, and it gives them an introduction. And what's really nice is that tour starts with a smoking ceremony, which kids are quite blown away with. As well, and you know, it's quite a different culture in it. And Auntie Margaret, she takes school groups as well, and a lot of her guides do. So that's actually her core business as well. So she's really good with kids. And for me, I've lived in Australia pretty much all my life. And to your point before, Samara, about, you know, it opens your eyes. When I did Auntie Margaret's tour and I now drive over Sydney Harbour Bridge, I don't go, wow, that's just a beautiful harbour. I go, wow, what about the wild dreaming story and the colours of the sky when the first fleet landed and all of that? So that's what I do in Sydney. If I was going to Uluru, I'd absolutely include the Marrickville Arts. The kids come up with the best art pieces out of all the adults, and it's really engaging. So you can see there's a bit of a theme with interactive experiences. And if I was heading to Queensland, absolutely take the kids up mud crabbing with Juan Walker from Walkabout Cultural Tours. He has a half-day experience, and that's that. And you actually cook up the mud crab, you catch the mud crab, the kids are there with their spears trying to get it, and you're walking across the beautiful Koya Beach, which is like where the rainforest meets the reef. So kids can run out on the beach. So that's a half hour. But in every location, remember, like Perth, you can do a 1 hour walking tour at Kings Park. In Melbourne, you know, I think the kids would love the Royal Botanic Gardens experience, where you can touch, taste, feel, chat as well. But I think absolutely for kids, also Junball Gallery, which is just north of Port Douglas. You get a wet day up in Port Douglas, or you get a day Northern Beaches, but the kids have had too much sun. Going and doing an art class with Binna, you can paint a boomerang, you can paint a canvas, or in the afternoon, that late afternoon when you want to get them out of the sun, that's something else you could be doing.
Fantastic. So I guess let's answer the first two questions, because the first one was for family experiences, and the second one that came through was, you know, what would be the best way to get an introduction into the Aboriginal culture when arriving into Australia. So I guess you've covered both those points very beautifully. So I'll just move to the next one. And the next one is, you know, there's a strange perception that these Aboriginal experiences or tours are going to be more expensive or going to cost much more than your regular tour. So would you like to shed some light on that? And maybe how can we differentiate? How can our agents help our customers differentiate and choose the right tour?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, all of these experiences are trade ready, and they have to achieve a certain criteria to be in the collective. And part of that is me also looking at how their price sits in the competitive set to the other experiences in the region. And we give them mentoring advice as well on, you know, price points, clients to work with, all of that. So it's a fully inclusive program. But it's just like if there was John Smith, who owned a tour going up to Cape Trib and Daintree, and then there happens to be Juan Walker, who's an Indigenous man who's operating the same tour. So there's not an additional cost for that. I think it's a perception that before there used to be that, oh, this is so exclusive. And, you know, and we've opened up experiences a lot more over the last 10 years. And we had a development program prior to this called the Indigenous Tourism Champions Program. And we brought businesses through to learn and understand about tourism and sharing their culture. So everything is pretty much on par with everyday experiences. You know, and if you look at the Dreamtime Southern Cross tour, I haven't looked of late, but it was $42 retail, which is a quite inexpensive, and there's a kids price, you know, as well. And most of them we encourage to have kids prices as well. So we also look at their rate sheets and go, you know, okay, if you want a bit of that market share, you need to do this, or you need to do this, or you need to be flexible. So, and I think the other thing to that perception about cost is also there was a perception that Indigenous was very much about art, didgeridoos and boomerang. And you can see there's so much more. I mean, what kid wouldn't want to go kayaking in Nibeluk Gorge, you know, or out with Capes that we saw, that Capes has got quite a humorous character. Wine Walker from Walkabout Cultural Tours will often speak to the families. He's got 5 kids. And he says, you know, school holidays, would you like one of my kids to come along and engage at that level with your children? So it's that real personalised nature of the experiences.
Great, fantastic. I think that's made it quite clear. We just have time for one last question. Yeah. And this has come through, and the question is for the longer tours, which are the overnight 2 or 3 day tours. Yep. Are these all inclusive pricing, or is just the cost of the tour? Do we need to build our own accommodation, or is everything packaged in?
With Venture North and Lords, they actually build that. There's some of the extended tours, they build that in, but they also build that based on flexibility. So if your clients, for example, want to stay in a 3-star hotel, you know, in KAKADU, or someone might want to stay at Crocodile, someone might want to stay at Corinda, they have that flexibility built into it. And also with KAKADU Cultural Tours, they've got camp accommodation as well. So you can get diversity of cost within those experiences. And you can also tailor make it. Like, not everyone comes to Australia and just wants to do Aboriginal cultural experiences. Right. You know, they want to jump in, you know, go to Magook or jump in a waterfall or go for a walk. Or so there is set programs that they can recommend because they know the region so well. But, you know, for me who goes travelling, I like to walk, but I don't like to walk all day. So, you know, they give you that flexibility.
I can understand that, yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole. And those are all the questions that have come in. So thank you so much once again for that insightful session. Love it. Always touches my heart, and look forward to experiencing some of these whenever I'm back there. Hope that's soon and not too far away in the near future. But thank you again for spending your afternoon with us. Really appreciate what you've done.
Oh, it's been great. Thank you very much, Samar, and to Ritu and the team. Thank you.
Our pleasure. I'd now like to hand back to Ritu. Ritu, over to you.
Thank you so much, ladies. It was a fabulous session. Jane, Nicole, it's always amazing to learn all the possibilities that these collectives have. I'm personally looking, Nicole, to probably try doing a fishing session, like, you know, with an Aboriginal guide soon, because that's something that really, you know, mesmerizes me a lot. And I look forward to doing this sometime in future. But thank you, everybody, audience. We love it. We love having you here. Thank you for your questions. We really hope that you know, we're helping you build in some amazing holidays for your premium clients. And if there's anything that you want us to help with, please make sure that Tourism Australia India team, the team at the Signature Experience Collective, we all are here. We're happy to help you customize and get you the best holidays designed for your premium clients. We'd like to see you again on the 17th, which is Friday, which is the last session of our Signature Experiences webinar. And we get you the most awaited one. We'll get you Kate Schilling from the Ultimate Winery Experiences of Australia. And then we'll have Elizabeth Steller, known as Biz Steller, from the Great Golf Courses of Australia. We will definitely send you the recording because a lot of people are asking me for it. So yes, we shall send you the recordings that you can then share it with your teams and help them, you know, enhance their knowledge. So have a perfect, you know, midweek ahead, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon on Friday. Bye-bye. Thank you.